This week, a tete-a-tete with Arsenal's Professor of Football, who's happy to freewheel on most subjects. Farewell Anelka. How will Bolton and Gary Megson adjust to life without their top scorer? And the smiling Dane, Martin Laursen's injury-free season is producing goals galore for him.
Arsene Wenger is Arsenal's most successful manager. In the last 11 years, Wenger has guided the Gunners to 3 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups and 1 Champions League final. As the longest-serving foreign manager in the history of the Premier League, the Frenchman continues to have an enormous influence on English football.
Arsene Wenger, Arsenal manager, thank you very much for talking to Premier League World. You've been at Arsenal since 1996, but what was it like growing up in Strasbourg, and how supportive were your parents of your football career?
Well, my parents wanted me to study, like any parents, and I must say I grew up in a little, what you call here, pub, you know, where the headquarters of a club of a village was there. So I heard only talking about football since I'm a little child, and that certainly must explain my passion. There were, after that, I always imagined if I have a choice in my life, I will be in football.
And I mean, but did your parents want you to go into their own business? Was that right?
Yeah, they wanted. And I first wanted, I studied economics as well, but the coincidence of my passion certainly, and the luck I had to meet people who gave me a chance to become a coach, and first in youth teams, after in senior teams, changed my life.
For 2 years you managed in Japan. How did the Japanese culture shape your philosophy as a manager?
Well, it made me more patient, more respectful, certainly, and less aggressive. And it helped me as well to really learn what is important for me in life, because you take a distance a little bit with your hectic life in Europe, and you sit a lot on your own in a culture that you don't know. And usually I think it has a positive impact because it makes you more tolerant with people. You learn what you take for granted in your own culture is not necessarily the only way to live. And I must say I was very early confronted with that because I had the bicultural influence. I lived near the German border, so I had influence from the German culture, from the French culture, and it is very deep in my body, you know, that you have to accept any culture because there's good and bad in every culture.
Often new managers bring in their own staff, but when you took over, you kept the core group of personnel, people like Vic Akers, Pat Rice, Gary Lewin. Why was this?
When you arrive into a new culture, I experienced a massive change from a French culture to a Japanese culture. And I realized how important it is to be surrounded by people not to make massive mistakes, who can alert you on the different cultures, differences of culture between your home country and the country where you work. I felt as well that at a club with such a tradition like Arsenal, it was very important to be always surrounded by people who have that deep culture in their genes. And I must say with Pat Rice especially, who has played here for years and years, I got that because he's my closest assistant.
So after all these years, I mean, do you actually feel French or English?
I feel still, of course, French, but I feel more I'm a world citizen who has an open eye to the positives and the negatives anywhere. And there are certain aspects I think I prefer English culture, and some aspects where I prefer French culture. But it's very interesting to notice that I feel you can exchange that kind of experience with people who have worked all over the world as well, because they have exactly the same feeling. You're not completely at home anywhere and not completely foreign anywhere. I'm not completely at home anymore in France, but as well basically what becomes your home is your house, where you go, where you live.
Back in 1996, how confident were you in your own vision for Arsenal?
I was confident that I could have an impact if I was given time, but I was quickly conscious that I needed short-term success to get to my longer vision of the club. And so I decided first not to change too much and to change as little as possible in the first season and try to get the best out of the team. I changed more of the environment of the team and the way we practiced. And then I thought the second step would be to change the way the team plays.
You revolutionised English football with your new training methods, but where did your ideas and beliefs come from?
Well, from beliefs that how I feel sport should be, a sportsman should act, live and behave, and as well have diet, prepare. I studied a few years, you know, through science, through training methods, through diet, nutrition, and I put that all together and try to make it available for a football player.
This season's title race is promising to be one of the most exciting contests we've seen for some time. Does the team leading the table at this time of year have a psychological edge?
Well, at the moment we are point equal level with Man United, so that means it will be very, very tight. Chelsea's just 4 points behind, have bought new players. I agree with you in one thing, it will be the most exciting title race for years, because it was always only at this period of the season a two-horse race, never a three. It will be exciting, but as well maybe to win the Premiership this year will be the biggest achievement any manager can do.
In the Arsenal Opus book, you've stated that you fear your dark side. Can you explain this statement?
Well, my dark side is really an obsessive side and hating to lose side and wanting to win at any cost that I have to master a little bit, you know. And so therefore I learned to deal with that side of myself and to calm down and not to show any exterior sign of passion too much, because I'm a little bit feared of what might come out sometimes.
In football, managers come and go, but are you surprised at the turnaround of managers this season?
I'm surprised, but I believe there's a logical explanation behind that, because it's the first time since I'm in England that the ownership of the clubs has changed so much, and certainly that instability of the ownership explains the instability of managerial staff as well, because one provokes the other one, and it looks like we are going into a new world where the rules are changing, and we go from the era where the supporter becomes successful in life and buys the club of his dreams, to an era where people who want to invest in the game come into the game, and they rule the clubs now like they see a business.
When Thierry Henry left last summer, some critics predicted that Arsenal would struggle without him. Did you ever think that would be the case?
I think it could be the case if a team let itself down mentally. It would not be the case if a team responded in a positive way, that say, okay, we lost a superstar, but that's as well a good opportunity to show how good we are, and let's try to compensate the class that has gone by putting more together and by showing that we are capable to take initiative. And in fact, that's happened. And that's always very difficult to measure how much you lose when such a player of such a caliber leaves, and how well the team will respond to that. But I was pleasantly surprised.
Arsenal now have a new generation of young English players coming through the academy. As a manager who perhaps has been criticised in the past for signing too many foreign players, how satisfying is this for you?
It's very satisfying, because you want as well, I would love to be, not to be remembered as somebody who only has brought out foreign players, because I don't look really at the passport of the player. If a player is English and is good, I play him. But I felt that England for a while was behind in the development of the young players, And unfortunately, they paid for it because today the Premier League is rich enough to attract the players from all over the world. But now it has been changed, rectified, and in the next 4 or 5 years we'll see very good young English players coming through.
People do say that you never shut off from football, but do you ever actually find time to relax? I mean, someone said you walk your dog, is that true? Yes,
I do, but I believe that a manager, even when he walks his dog, he thinks about the game. It's maybe one of a privileged moment. He can think about it as well, but it's true that people can reproach that to me, but maybe certainly to many managers. And as well, I must say, when I watch football games, I don't feel I work. I feel I enjoy it. So I never feel that it is a problem.
Arsene Wenger, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.